We are live yet again on YouTube for another Integrated Skills podcast with my dear friend and colleague of many years, Mr. Bartek Naruk. Barry, how are things in lovely Thailand with yourself?
Yeah, all good, Fergus. Thanks for having me on the podcast again. I mean, yeah, excited. I'm still by the beach in Hua Hin, so life is good.
You lucky man, you lucky man. And so some good news that I'd like to share with everyone. So Bartek has agreed to join us here on the Integrated Skills podcast on a regular basis. So we're going to be doing this podcast together for the foreseeable future. Isn't that right, Bartek?
Absolutely. I'm thrilled. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic project.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to be part of this. And let's see where it's going to take us, Fergus.
Well, today I'd like to get back on the topic that we were talking about in our last episode. So we were talking about rapport, and you shared with us a couple of ideas, which are really excellent. I really love both of them. But you've got more. As ever, you have an abundance of activities and great ideas for the classroom and the online environment indeed. So why don't you tell us about what you have ready for us this week, Bartek?
Okay, so I got two simple activities. The first one is extremely simple, no preparation needed. And I think it works, no matter with whom you work with. And let me talk about it. Very simple. What you ask your students or your participants to do is think of 2 true, 1 false statements about themselves. So why don't we just do this, Fergus? I've actually had time a little bit to prepare. Okay. I don't know if you need 30 seconds or 1 minute to perhaps think about your ideas, but please think about true statements, 2 true statements, 1 false statement. And basically, as you say your statements, I'm going to try and figure out which one is false, and I'm going to take a guess.
I can tell you already, you're going to have your work cut out, because this Irish man over here, he's a good poker player. So see if you can read through my poker face. I have had a bit of time to think about it, and I'm actually really looking forward to doing this because there may be some teachers watching this who are familiar with this activity from the classroom environment. So it's really great. This is going to be the first time for me trying it out in the online sphere. So okay. Here you go, Bartek. Are you ready?
Yeah, go on.
Here comes statement number 1. At the beginning of our worldwide lockdowns, I woke up one morning and I went for a walk, and I kept walking and I kept walking, and I didn't stop walking until I had walked 79 kilometers, which is 90,000 steps. I did in 12 hours, 13 hours. Here comes the second one. Or do you want to ask some questions on the first one, or should I tell you all my statements?
Wait a minute. So just you did 7 to 8 kilometers.
79.
79 kilometer walk.
Yeah.
In 12 hours.
Yeah.
Jesus, you're not making it easy for me, Fergus, are you?
I'm a fit man, Bartek, I just decided this one day I ate my cornflakes and I felt energized, And
did you did it in 12 hours?
Let's say 13.
Wow. What time of the year was it?
Oh, it's the beginning of lockdown. I'd say it was around March, April.
That's a tough one. I tell you what, I'm gonna go with yes. It's a true statement.
You are correct.
Oh my goodness! Well done, Fergus.
Yeah,
that's a huge achievement, actually. Wow.
So I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and we all got on this Fitbit league, and we're very competitive amongst all of us. And all my brothers were doing these walks, and I said, okay, I have to do something where I'm going to set a record that's going to be almost impossible to beat. So I went crazy one day, and I walked 90,000 steps.
My goodness, that's incredible. And how long did it take you to recover?
Oh, yeah. I had sore feet for a couple of days, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, the next day I was a little bit sore. So let's say 2 days or so. But, the nice thing about walking is, you can walk and you can stop and you can,
of course,
have a little picnic or whatever you want and go for another bit and go and stop and go and stop. And if you get nice weather, it's
stunning.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna enter the challenge, Fergus.
You definitely.
I'm up for that.
Let's see. If you do 91,000 steps, Bartek, I'll be very annoyed. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Good guess.
Well,
good
give us
guess.
the next one.
I thought that one was going to you weren't going to buy that one. Okay. Here comes another one. I have a degree in psychology.
No, you don't.
What would make you think that, Bartek? What happened in your life until now that would make you come to such a conclusion? What would make you?
My friend, you studied. You are a lawyer. I remember that. Psychology. Maybe the through. Just because you're Irish, you're very good with people. Yeah, so you have a natural degree. You didn't go to college to study psychology, did you?
Well, you're right. I do have the natural degree by being Irish on it. Yes, 100%. No, yes, Bartek, yet again, you know me too well, my friend. You know me too well.
But it's not easy, Fergus. You see, this is, if you don't mind me saying something, this is the beauty of this activity, that you can obviously, we've known each other for quite some time, but you can still make it challenging just by being creative, obviously. Not easy at all.
What I really love about it as well, I'm kind of forgot for a second that, there's a camera recording me and we're making a podcast and, we're doing this to hopefully expand some teachers' horizons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just got into the conversation. I got into the fun of it with you, and just the kind of banter, and it's
exactly.
I love that about this activity, and it helps to bring you out, and it allows you to talk about yourself as well. And we're humans; we like to talk about our own stories, right?
Exactly. It's all about stories, and asking those follow-up questions. Just you extract more information, you find out more about the other person, and obviously, it's fascinating. I think. Go on, I'm ready for the third one.
Well, by process of elimination, but this is the other one. I should have saved the line to last, but
I'm just curious what you've prepared.
My first car exploded on a street in Dublin.
Jesus. My question is, how long did it take you to come up with these ideas? They're rather extreme. Wow.
Yeah, it took me about, all of about 30 seconds. But it's true, actually. I had I inherited my brother's car. He had this really beautiful car. It was a Peugeot 406. And you can't get Peugeots here in North America where I live. Or Peugeot, as they say, with a little bit of French pronunciation. And it was a really beautiful one. And, I inherited from him, and I had it for a few years. But I remember I went out to Dublin Airport to pick up a friend who was coming back from the United States. And we were just driving on to Collins Avenue, which is in the north end of Dublin, near the Malahide Road. And my car made this sound kind of like the Starship Enterprise was running out of energy or something. And then I was like, oh, what's happened? And I opened up the bonnet or the hood of my car, and there was this little fire. And I was like, oh my God.
No way.
And within 5 minutes, I got my friend out of the car. Within 5 minutes, the whole thing went up in a ball of flames and it exploded. Just the whole
goodness.
thing. So, I was kind of like, of course I was sad to lose my car, but I was also like, it's a good story.
I tell you what, it's all about stories, but that's a fantastic one. I'll give you that one first.
Yeah, and I often I have done this face to face, and I would sometimes I would write them on the board when I do this face-to-face. I write my three statements on the board, and I sometimes put my students into pairs or groups, and I tell them to discuss together. Just look at me. What do you think are the true ones? What do you think are the false ones? Nearly everybody doesn't believe that one.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's hard to believe that it actually happened, Fergus. My goodness. All right, so listen, I'm going to give you my statements. Mine are not as sophisticated as yours.
Oh, Bartek.
But well, I do hope that you will struggle a little bit at least. Number one, I've never been to Latin America.
You're a well-traveled man, Bartek. You've been around. So I know that you've been, you're well-traveled throughout Europe. And obviously, you're well-traveled in Asia. I lived in Brazil for 4 years. And when I was in Brazil, you didn't come and visit me while you were in Latin America, I would be very upset. So I'm gonna call you on your very first one. I don't think you've been to Latin America.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've never been. Yeah, and exactly. If I did go, I would have visited you.
Of course.
Oh,
Of
brilliant.
Keep going. Tell us another couple.
All right, number 2. I'm 188 centimeters tall.
Yeah.
No!
Wait, I stand 2 meters and 1, and I know that you're about here. You're about here on me.
You are 2 meters tall. My goodness.
Yeah. I'm a tall Irish.
No, I'm 184.
Bartek, so close.
I know. Yeah. Well, I just couldn't think of anything, to be honest. Okay, and the last one. Well, now it's easy because the last one is true. But still, I was thinking of you when I was writing this. And the last one is, I used to play African drums.
Huh. That is actually something if you went with that the first one, I wouldn't have known that. So, yeah. Well, I guess, I know by deduction it's true, yeah. But when did you play African drums?
Oh, when I started when I was very young, in high school. Mm-hmm. And I totally fell in love. I was hooked. I was playing with my mates. And then when I moved to London, I played a little bit more. I bought a proper jamba at Camden Market many, many years ago.
Nice.
I still have it. It's at my mother's place.
Brilliant.
She doesn't play though.
We should get together for a session sometime.
Well, there you go, because you're a musician, so that's why. Yeah, I don't know. Probably that's the reason why I put it in there.
Well, I think I'm a bass player, so a bass player always needs a percussionist or a drummer.
We got to do this one day. Hey, listen, that's an idea, Fergus. Maybe one day we can play some music during the podcast.
Oh my goodness!
Turn it into an activity.
That would be a whole nother level. That would be
something. Wouldn't it?
Bartek, I really love this, and it's something that I have done in the face-to-face classroom, but it works just as well online, and
absolutely,
it creates such natural conversation as well, as I was mentioning already, I can feel my own enthusiasm increasing, and I just want to know more, and I want to, if we talk about actual linguistic outcomes, from a skills perspective, you get to practice the sub-skill of turn taking in speaking, for example, that's the first one that comes to mind. Or, from a systems point of view, you have to practice your accuracy with question forms, for example, so
absolutely, as simple as this. Obviously, depending on the level of the students, you could do some activities prior to this. So, asking each other follow-up questions, which students struggle with, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about, IELTS candidates,
mm-hmm.
finding, getting them ready for speaking part 1, interviewing one another, that could be an activity, that you could use prior to actually introducing students to the idea of speaking part 1.
Definitely.
the others.
And I think as well, the last one, before I let you go on to your next activity that you have ready for us, it also makes me think that as teachers, we can use it as a kind of like diagnostic or kind of like needs analysis-y kind of like activity as well, because like it's a fun rapport building thing. But of course, we have our, teacher's brain on all the time, and we're like observing, like, okay, where are the gaps in their language ability? Okay, I've been able to identify some things, and then you can make decisions about what you're going to do in further classes. Love it. Excellent. Beautiful.
Just one more thing in terms of setting it up. If you have a larger group, obviously you would put them in breakout rooms, and then you would visit the breakout rooms. Ideally, you could take some notes so that later you could give some whole class feedback. And I think what's fun as well, the last part of the activity, if you do put them in breakout rooms, is when you reconvene with all the students in the main session, you just ask a few of them to report back to the main class and say, is there anything you found extraordinarily funny or unusual, and that usually people come up with some hilarious stuff.
And absolutely. And if I could just bounce off that, like that's something, the reporting back thing is something that I often talk about when I'm leading teacher training sessions on classroom management and how to, deal with, for example, like dominant students and kind of like quieter students, for example. So you could give the role to the student who might be a little bit weaker. No, it doesn't say so much that they're going to be the person to report back, so that like the more dominant student has to make sure that like weaker student has got what they've talked about. So it really, really like enhances the communication, right? The real
I like
communication.
That,
So like there's so many, like look at that, like one rapport building activity, like we're able to identify about 10 teachable moments and like techniques to use and approaches to take, like we were able to identify skills and sub-skills and aspects of grammar, of exam preparation, of classroom management, like, and it's just, and all of that can be going on while the students are just kind of like, it's kind of like a warmer, like students are just like warming up, like, and yeah, I really love this, because sometimes, when I'm doing teacher training, sometimes I worry that teachers get the misconception that warmers are just like a kind of like a throwaway kind of a thing, a kind of it's just kind of like to fill the first 5 minutes or whatever. But
that could go on for much longer depending on how students get involved. That could take, that could be an amazing speaking activity that could go on for half an hour.
Your entire lesson could be, in fact, based around it. In fact, lesson could be based around it, and there's so much to be gleaned from it. There's so much to teach around that. Just like it's Scott Thornbury and the Teaching Unplugged would be very proud of an activity like that. There's no materials
exactly
other than the students and the teacher managing the situation and.
The stories.
Love it. Okay, Bartek, tell us what. So you've brought another activity for rapport building for us.
Yes, something entirely different. Of course, in an online environment, it's important to use visuals. Just to engage with students. So very quickly, guys, I do believe many of you are familiar with word wall. I love this activity, and I've received fantastic feedback from my students. It's the Wheel of Fortune. Let me bring it to you. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Can you see the screen, Ferdinand?
I sure can.
All right, here we go. Take it away. So again, it depends. It's entirely up to you how you do this. You nominate students, you put them in groups. It's important to do a model, and this is how you do this. So you present this. As you can see, you spin the wheel.
I like the animation on it. Okay.
And then the person who is running the activity basically chooses the person who will be answering the topic. So Fergus, do you mind? Talk about where you live, and please talk for 1 minute.
Oh my goodness, I'm on the spot here. Okay, well, I live in Eastern Canada. I live in a province called Nova Scotia. Canada is often, people see a lot of similarities with the United States, but one difference is in the United States, they have states, and in Canada, we have provinces. And I live in not the most eastern province, but one of the most eastern province, and we're on the Atlantic Ocean. It's a beautiful small province of just under 1 million people, and wow. I live in a little town outside the main city. The main city of Nova Scotia is called Halifax, and I live in a town about 20 kilometers outside of that city, and we're right on the Atlantic Ocean, and it's incredibly beautiful. It's the sunsets here are unlike anything I've ever seen before, and one fun fact about Nova Scotia, because of the way the geography is, you are never more than 68 kilometers from the ocean in Nova Scotia.
Oh, wow. Interesting. That's incredible. Sounds like a spectacular spot. Hey, Fergus, this time I'm definitely coming to visit.
Well, Bartek, you will be most welcome.
When we are able to travel again.
Yes.
So, guys, obviously what's important is showing the model. Okay, so you do the example with one of the students, then you check instructions. I can't actually highlight this enough, especially in an online setting. Checking instructions and making sure students know what they have to do before a complex activity like that, if you will, because it's not easy to set it up. So again, we go into teacher training. You do the model. You tell them one person shares the screen. It's important that you actually change the settings so that anybody who joins the session, one person joins the screen, one person spins the wheel, and after that, the idea also would be to click eliminate after you finish so that you keep doing different topics. And then you have to ask at least one or two students to repeat the instructions to check that they know exactly what they have to do.
Absolutely. Your advice couldn't be more on the money. Like when something is complex, model it, just do it. Like just take the students through it rather than, sometimes new teachers come to me and say, I have this instruction and it's like 10 bullet points long and I've kind of forgotten what they've said at the start. And I said, forget that, just do it with them and they'll see it being done and perfect. I love the activity, Bartek. I love it's, and it's, works on many levels. It's colorful as well. And that will help certain types of learners as well. That respond more to such things. And the topics, like they're so. I didn't. You just spun the wheel, so I couldn't have prepared for that. But boom, I can speak about it right away. So I love it. I really, really, really love it. So, Bartek, really wonderful activities. Please do. You'll share links to that, I guess, and we can put it in the description below.
Sure, absolutely.
So please, if you're watching this, let us know what you think of this activity, and drop a comment. Leave a question for myself or Bartek. We'd be delighted to respond and answer any of your questions in the comments below. There was one more topic when we were talking about this podcast, Bartek, that you mentioned that you've been thinking about recently about this whole rapport issue, from the point of view of students, but also from the point of view of teachers. Tell us a little bit about what you were.
Yeah, it's interesting, because obviously we were all put in a situation where all the teaching all over the world pretty much has been shifted online because there are no face-to-face sessions because schools are closed. And obviously, it's challenging on many levels. But I think it's important also to think about teachers, and the managers and management should really ensure that teachers do not feel isolated. because imagine you don't have a partner, you don't have a family. Many of us are thousands of miles away from home. You live in a small condo, as it happens here in Thailand. You don't get to have many face-to-face interactions with anybody, because actually Bangkok is in lockdown at the moment. Right. So it's really important to consider, how can you ensure that people have social interactions? We're animals. We need this. Otherwise, we are deprived of the most fundamental need. Yeah. And it may have a negative impact on our performance, obviously, and happy teachers are happy students. So
I guess Bartek, you've been doing some research into this, and you have some advice that maybe if we could, would you be willing to maybe talk about this in our next episode and share with us what you've learned and what some of your advice, some of your tips, some of your ways of dealing with this?
I would love to, yeah. And obviously, I've been talking a lot about this with my colleagues, and I'm totally happy to actually have a discussion on this topic next time.
Brilliant. Well, let's do it. So we'll get together and we'll have another podcast in a week's time, and we'll talk about exactly this topic of rapport, but also the sense of isolation for all of us in this strange new world, a brave new world that we find ourselves in. Bartek, just before we wrap things up today, maybe if you could share your screen. I just want to share, where can people find you online? Where can people find me online? I just put together this little graphic here. If you can just start it there. So tell us, where can people find you once you just...
Yeah, I mean, it's my private Facebook. Obviously, you can easily find me on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. We will be obviously sending links to the podcasts on all the social media sites, and we are looking forward to receiving comments from you guys.
Perfect. Yeah, and you can also follow myself there. You can see I'm also on Twitter at Fergus Teacher. I've got a Facebook page for this podcast at Integrated Skills, on Instagram at Integrated Skills ESL. And as well, if you want to reach out to myself or Bartek about anything like related to the podcast or a consultation or some training, by all means, go ahead and send us an email there. You can see our emails on this screen there. Okay.
Fantastic. Well, Fergus.
Another one in the bag, Barry.
Indeed. Yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Wonderful. It was really great talking with you again. Love the ideas, love the setup. I think teachers watching this are going to get a lot from it. The 2 truths, 1 lie, tried and tested. Works in the online environment, brings out students so much. The Wheel of Fortune, fun, colorful, so much to say, and it's so many teachable moments in both activities. So I think they're absolute winners. And really looking forward to our next podcast about rapport, but also that sense of isolation and things that we can do to mitigate it and improve that situation. So thank you so much again, Bartek, for everything, and looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, thanks, Fergus. Thanks for the chat, and definitely looking forward to more podcasts.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.